Welcome. We're about 2 minutes out from the event. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. And the two people I'm really interested in seeing on here is Laverne Turner and Troy Peterson. So, been supporting both those guys. Make your own choice, but probably something different than what's been going on the past, 100 years would be cool because we haven't had that. You know what I mean? And here in Minnesota, it's funny because people don't know the history of like the progressive Republicans and that. And some of the issues are good. There's a reason for unions, right? Because of the monopolies and that. There's a reason the farmers got involved with the price fixing and stuff like that the monopolies were doing. So it just gets interesting. But I think there's a middle of the road like type thing. But anyway, we are almost there. Refresh it real quick. And it should be starting momentarily here. On them to start. Apologize for the delay here. There's a delay, I guess, from when they start streaming. In other news, the Senate recently had announced that they're doing a committee to see how the big beautiful bill will affect Minnesota. And the DFL is going to be using some of that money to go around and talk to people and do voter outreach stuff and whatever else. So that's just interesting.
This should be interesting.
Full screen once it starts. It's delayed, I think, by a few minutes.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Some of the debates, it's a few minutes of a delay. I'm not sure if that makes sense. The Senate DFL leader today also put out that they're doing a committee to see what the big beautiful bill's impact is going to be on Minnesota. Some of that is they're going to be doing outreach to the communities, and they're going to be spending their some of the legislative money to do those trips.
It's crazy.
Yeah, paid voter outreach.
I think we already have enough. I be hating these messages you get. I think they're from fake profiles. They're not real ones. I'm tired of streaming to zero. Let's change that. I always get that message on Rumble. Hey.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time that Laverne's even been any kind of forum, public forum, at least I believe, because I know mostly it's been Democratic. So it should be interesting. Because I seen Brenda Short, she also posted a couple of things about it.
Up soon. Give me 1 second here. I'll pull up the information.
I don't know.
Burns little dealio here in a second.
Yes, at 5:30. Says there's 27 people waiting. Because I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in this.
So Laverne has this coming up, and it's on this Saturday. If anybody that wants to attend, and he's going to be going through his plan for this city and some of the economic stuff that he wants to do. And please reach out to Troy A. Peterson as well on Twitter. Uh, you know, those two people are the two people that I'm excited to hear from tonight. We're still waiting for the live stream to start. There's a delay. Is there anything you want to chat about in the meantime?
No, not really. I mean, I just think it'll be interesting just to see this mayor form tonight. 'Cause you haven't really had a good chance to hear what Troy or Laverne has really had to say so far. It's been more of the Fatah or Frey or Davis or Hampton. I can't believe his car has been stolen that many times this year already, and that's wild. Said his car was stolen 3 times, something like that. What do you think about the girl that got stabbed in North Carolina?
Oh, I ain't even hopping in on that. I don't think. Okay, so my thing with it is though, I don't want anybody to die. So like, maybe we should stop fucking killing people, right? I mean, like, that's it. I don't want to see anybody die. Doesn't matter the race or whatever else. Like, we should stop having people kill people.
Well, and that's the thing that like irritates me is like it's the first thing that wants to be people want to say is to make it a racial issue. They want to compare it to, something else that happened or, and it's like, damn, I get there can be similarities, but it's definitely not the same situations and it's not always about race either.
Well, it's the same thing people ask me about the kids dying at the church, and I'm like, maybe we should stop having people kill kids, right?
Right.
I mean, like, whatever reason that it's becoming, we should stop that. And I don't think that changing guns will do anything because like I can get anything out on the street, you know that.
Right.
Like, give me a rhyme and give me some time, and I'll find it.
Well, even though that they want to ban the assault rifles and it's like that's not the type of gun that's used to kill people every day in shootings over north. They use handguns, they use more of shotguns or handguns and 9 millimeters or 40 cals or they're not using assault rifles. I'm sure people have them, you know what I'm saying, but that's not something that is a handy something that everybody has.
And you're walking around with that, people are gonna notice,
Right.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. My man, go ahead.
Taylor's there.
Before uh before you hopped on here, I'd mentioned about the progressive history of Minnesota's Republicans too. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that like people have to realize that the unions up here were formed for a reason, and the farmers were upset for a reason back in the day because like of the monopolies and like how poorly they were being treated in that. Like the monopolies for the grain and that had the railways and everything else and the cold storage for the meat, and they were really running the farmers into the ground, and the farmers wanted a decent price. That was basically it. And then same thing with the labor stuff is that like the flour mills and some of that stuff was like really tough working conditions, and like they were getting flour in their lungs and dying and stuff, right? So I mean, like it was just like basic, simple. I don't want to die at the job type stuff, but it's gotten all crazy nowadays. You know what I mean? But it started out from not necessarily a bad place. That
No, it didn't definitely didn't start from a bad place. But where it is now, I don't think it's very useful. They have too much control over something that uh especially when they did that report earlier a couple weeks ago about superintendents of school districts and how much they get paid. But then you look at the data and the statistics from that area, and it's all messed up. So why do people get paid that high of a salary and the results are crappy? I don't get that.
I'm saying is that like the original reason for them wasn't bad, but what it's become has been like a few people at the top that like that guy from New Jersey, the Port Authority, whatever. he was living in a
Hmm.
multi-million-dollar mansion, and like his guys, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's stuff like that you see, and you're like, well, how come you can't split some of that with your guys? You know
Right.
that is if you're claiming to be this bastion of liberalism and whatever else. You know what I mean? If you're claiming that, then live it.
That's very true. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, that's all. You know what I mean?
I wonder if they're gonna just it's recording, but it won't play until afterwards. Because I don't think in Red Wing they had them live either. They were recording them, but
But
the
seeing it, they've
video
been
just
live.
played. I don't think so.
It said on their website they were doing it live.
Did they?
Yeah, because I watched Marvina's last year or whenever she was running for city council, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Right.
I watched hers live, and we talked right afterwards.
There's a lot of people waiting.
I'm gonna ask Taylor if they're doing it live.
Yeah, she would know. She's there. I don't think it was starting until 6 though. I think it was check-in and all that was like at 5:30, and then it was like at the
Oh,
forum.
if that's the case, then we'll probably be back. Let me real quick check on their website. Oh yeah, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, so we'll be back in about. Well, I guess we're 10 minutes away now, right? Yeah. You want to throw on some music until I'm not sure if you have any music that you want to play.
No, I don't have any music. Just play
I'm just gonna let
whatever.
people know. I guess it starts at 6.
That's what I wondered if it started at 6. Yeah, live stream will be. That's what I thought. Yeah, 6 o'clock. There's even more people waiting now. Oh, Troy's already there. Brenda's there, and Alejandro Richardson, Brenda, and Troy are there. Are the first ones seated because he's next to Kevin Ward, Jeffrey Wagner, and then Turner is at that table. And then Jacob's not there. Jazz. I wonder who's going to show up though. If any, well, some will. I know Laverne said he'd be there.
Fete was out
Yeah.
there protesting with the protesters for the union, so I don't know.
Right. I think this just
Yeah,
really gives a chance.
We're about 10 minutes till they get started, I guess. So I'm not sure if Laverne's gonna even show up. We'll see.
He said he was
Um,
gonna be there. I messaged him.
they still have 10 minutes, so
I think 5:30 was just where they could begin to start showing up.
I'm gonna see if they have the candidate responses. I'll put those up. Looks like they didn't get a response from everybody. Here's the people that gave a response to their questionnaire. So I guess.
Laverne's there. He just pulled up, and
Oh,
then
cool.
the other two there too. Kevin Dwyer and Andrea Ravel. I don't know, but they starting to show up more people. And Taylor just posted that because Laverne got a nice little suit on.
He's doing it right then.
Right. I hope like Omar, like Patan shows up. I think he will, but we'll see. Yeah, they be tripped out. People don't even know how weird Minnesota is. Some of these stories are not conspiracy theories.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
and it's on
watching
both
clips of
sides, man.
right about the UFOs or whatever and shit. The little committee they was having.
Well,
That
some of that is about military technology that they withheld from us too, because like the military's been years ahead of what some people think they have been with certain technologies, and they just didn't say anything about it. So some of the stuff is military tech.
no, I definitely believe that. I definitely do believe that. I always
And,
wondered how boats got through the dams, and then I actually did see a boat go through a dam the other when I was camping. Thought that was kind of weird.
unlike the locks,
Yeah, the damming locks and stuff, whatever they want to call them. The one between Elma, Minnesota, and Wabasha by the Mississippi.
yeah,
Yeah, that one over there.
you're not joking about the stuff from Minnesota though. I mean, like, and it's on both sides. Like both sides have been corrupt as heck, and it's like, why they even fight when they're basically the same? I mean, these people that claim to be quote unquote conservative Republicans, and they're really not. They're just the companies buy off the Republicans, and then their foundations donate to the Dems. So it's the money's all coming from the same damn people.
Right. And that's what a lot of people either I think people either do notice or they just don't care because I mean you look at a lot of these like city budgets or whatever, or you start looking at organizations like the Minneapolis Foundation, and they give to both sides of the issues. So it's like, how are we ever going to find a solution if the problem is sitting here giving money to people say that they're fighting for the cause and they're actually not, because you don't see neighborhoods or communities getting better. And that's why I kind of like Ron Edwards when he was talking about, the Hallman project, and people really need to look at that. And I believe there's a lot there. And if people don't really, yeah.
A lot of that. So what it was is a fight between the big landlords and the smaller landlords, and like you had Huntington Place, Huntington Point, the big developments that they had set up like that, and then in the '90s they decided, oh, now we've all ghettoized them and put them all in one area, so we should spread them out. And then
Right,
they spread them out, and like I lived in the low income housing projects in Jordan when I grew up. You know what I mean? And
right,
like, so I know now I know exactly how we were treated in that. You lived on Chad Circle. That's, you know what I mean?
right,
And like, it, yeah, people treated us terrible just because we lived there and that. So I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? But thing of it is, though, is what they did then is they dropped people into communities that weren't like not necessarily ready for the issues that were getting dropped there, and then people felt alienated and whatever else, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that came with that. You know what I mean?
right. And there was a lot of, behind, especially when you start looking at the bigger organizations like NAACP or the Urban League or even Legal Aid. I'll even put in there because I think there was a lot of backdoor deals made that didn't really benefit the people, but it benefited corporations or landlords or property owners. But it really didn't help the people, because when you look at the Sumner projects, and then you look at what's there now, and especially in like the Heritage Park area, it's not the same. You don't see the uh and I'm not saying that Sumner projects was, tip top shape or one of the best or whatever, but it felt like more of people were a community, and it was, you always hear people say, oh, it takes a village, it takes a village. Well, that's where those villages were. And I hate to really say it, but when you put uh scatter family around, or people that you're close to, it doesn't always work out well, because you don't have that same support systems or that same kind of um, familiarity with people around you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, um,
Well, they did that on purpose with the community action partnerships because they got in bed with Deed, okay, and so they decided for each area that they serve, and it's almost in line with the RDOs, not quite. And RDOs are regional development organizations, but then like those programs run through community action partnership, like in Hennepin or sorry, Scott County, there where I used to live. Your workforce center and everything's in the CAP agency building, okay. Um, well, the workforce center, they help the companies come up with the quotas that they need of low income workers. So that's the reason why you have the quota for how many low income housing you need, because they need X amount of low income workers for those jobs.
right.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's the human trafficking, basically.
But then I don't know. I don't know. I put it into it like, because I remember coming from, the Twin Cities down to Rochester. And when I first moved to Rochester, there wasn't very many African American, black families. There was the
Look at it as just low income, though. Don't look at it as race. Just look at low income.
yeah.
Continue though with what you're
No,
saying.
no, I know what you're saying. You said don't make it about black people or whatever. But if like that's what I mean, like there was a shift, and I would say like 95, 96. You seen that uh shift, because I know when we first moved to Rochester, they had uh, over there by the fairgrounds, Meadow Park, and then there was the now I think it's college apartments, but they had those out there, the the row houses. I forget the name of it. Over there by Cub Foods on Marion Road. But it was like, that's all they really had is them little areas. And then if you went around to like pretty much the outskirts of Rochester, they were predominantly people with, I would say, money or people that had good jobs that could pay for to be out of the city.
Oh, definitely. And my main question on that, then, if you look at that same time frame, were they having an exodus of low-income white people? You know,
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and let this play, and chime in if you got anything, and I'll pause it. I'm muting myself for a second.
It's a single issue. What's astonishing is, like, Minnesota's a very charming state. Nobody hates us. It's like, okay, you think this.
It's masculine to be feminine or feminist, and if you disagree that you're a feminine,
I was gonna mute the chatter for a second there. What were you saying before they hopped on? Okay, never mind. I'll hit it back to live.
If I could, I I'm smart enough to know that I don't buy it. It's like it's hard for me to get around here. What range is I don't know who's going to be that one.
she thinks she's real smart. That's what makes her
The
dumb.
outcome is contested.
We're gonna find out real soon.
It seems like in terms of I would much rather be working
What's your name, brother?
Mic check.
Are you sitting where the timer goes, Stuart? Are you sitting? You're the timer. Okay. Awesome. Oh, they're official. Awesome. I promise to undercut you every time. For sure. He's right. Let me check my mic here. Savage Oral Hotbed is playing September 20th at the 331 Club. Does anybody hear that? Can everybody hear that? Just checking the system. Savage Oral Hotbed is playing at the 331 Club on September 20th.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody, and before we start, I have a few requests. So we ask that no campaign buttons or campaign t-shirts be worn in this room, and that no signs or literature be distributed during the event. We ask that you please remain as quiet as possible while the candidates are speaking so that everyone can hear the discussion. We ask that you please hold your applause until the end of the forum so that candidates will have the maximum time to respond to your questions, because we have the maximum number of candidates up here today. And we ask that you please silence all of your electronic devices. Good evening and welcome to the Minneapolis Mayoral Candidate Forum. My name is Laura Helmer and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Minnesota, but I am not a resident of Minneapolis. I am pleased to be moderating this forum this evening. As we begin the forum, we recognize that we come together today as a community once again shocked and traumatized by gun violence. Let us join together now in a moment of respectful silence to mourn those lives lost, acknowledge those injured and affected by senseless acts of violence, and reflect upon what each of us might do to end gun violence in our community. The League of Women Voters is a volunteer organization with a long history of providing unbiased candidate and issue information that is widely used by voters, regardless of political beliefs. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters Minneapolis. The views expressed are those of the candidates and not those of the League. The League of Women Voters Minneapolis does not endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. We are holding this forum for voters to hear from the candidates and to compare their ideas. This forum is being held in front of a live audience at the Minneapolis Central Library and is being live streamed and recorded. We have the assistance of two interpreters tonight, Ada Azazi and Sigal Sabri. Feel free to ask them for help as needed, and if they could indicate where they are. Thank you. This is a forum and not a debate. Candidates are asked questions to which they will respond directly to the audience and not to each other. All 15 candidates on the ballot were invited to the forum, and 13 are with us this evening. We thank the candidates in advance for engaging in a respectful and civil discourse. Let me introduce you to the candidates. They are seated alphabetically. Dwayne Davis, Kevin Dwyer, Omar Fateh, Jacob Fry, Jazz Hampton.
Stop.
I'm going to ask the audience
Come
to
on.
please not react. Charlie McLeod, Xavier Pauk, Xavier Pocky, thank you. Troy Peterson, Andrea Revel, Alejandro Richardson, Brenda Short, Laverne Turner, and Kevin Ward, who has asked us tonight to call him candidate nobody. We know that a forum with this many candidates is challenging, but it does give you, the voter, a unique chance to see and hear from the candidates. Note that ranked choice voting will be used for this election. You vote for candidates in order of your preference, ranking up to 3 candidates. This method can allow your vote to count towards another candidate if your favorite candidate loses. If your first choice candidate is eliminated, your vote is moved to your second choice. We won't have time tonight for a meet and greet, so we invite the candidates and you to join us for a meet and greet on Thursday, October 16th at the Swedish Institute. More details will be posted on our website. This evening will be conducted in the following way. All candidates will first make opening statements of 1 minute. Next, questions will be asked in approximately 6 subject categories. Each category will have 2 questions. Half of the candidates will be asked the first question, and the other half of the candidates will be asked the second question. Group 1 and Group 2 will be randomly selected and will change with each category. All candidates will be given 1 minute to answer the question. Finally, each candidate will have 30 seconds to make a closing statement. We have timekeepers sitting in the front row so that each candidate has the same amount of time to respond to the questions. The timekeeper will hold up a card when there are 15 seconds left and a stop card when the time is up. We ask that the candidate finish their sentence and stop at that point. Questions were written by the League of Women Voters with input from the community to address a variety of issues of interest and concerns. We looked for a balance of topics that affect all of us, both locally and in the city as a whole. If you feel questions asked tonight did not reflect the issues you are most concerned about, please contact the candidates directly after the forum. Let's begin. For the candidate's opening statement, we ask that you answer this question. Why are you running for mayor, and what are your qualifications? You will each have 1 minute to respond, and we will go in random order. Let's begin with candidate Richardson.
Mic check. Good evening, everybody. My name is Alejandro Richardson. I'm a 30-year resident of the city of Minneapolis. I was born and raised in South Minneapolis, born at Fairview Riverside Hospital. It's the only place that I've ever called home. And personally, I think that's one of the biggest qualifications to hold office in a city like this. It's big. There's a lot of diversity in opinions and in its residents. And I think that someone who has lived here for as long as I have has had a good opportunity to kind of suss those things out, to understand my neighbors, the communities that I'm a part of. And I guess that's why I'm running, because my job, my employment is a union carpenter. And I believe that being a member of the working class, somebody who understands the struggle of trying to make ends meet, is something that's been sorely lacking from our politics for a really long time. And that is really the basis of my campaign. Thank you.
Candidate Nobody.
My name is Nobody. My mom named me Kevin Stephen Ward, which means hands of servant protector. And my rank that I was retired from the Army was also sergeant, which means servant. And I was born to serve, and I have been serving, and I have been fighting for your freedom always. And I will not stop no matter what. And I'm currently suing the county because they arrested me and threw my property in the garbage when they said that my First Amendment right to observe and record their police actions. Sir, you can't touch my service dog. Was obstructing justice, even though I went as far away as they had to stop doing their job for me to be obstructing it. And I am not okay with fascism, and if you are, then I don't know how to help you with that, because that's insane. It's not American. I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to tell me what to do. But right now I'm retired, and don't tell me what to do unless I'm the mayor. And then tell me I'll do whatever you want. Because I want to get what I was told by President Obama I deserve for being a 100% disabled veteran.
Thank you.
But I won't get that unless everybody does, because I'm not a dumb fascist.
All right, candidates, one reminder I forgot to give before we started is that please stay seated during the forum tonight. Thank you. Candidate Short.
My name is Brenda Short. I'm running for mayor because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that Minneapolis will be the next Detroit, Michigan. I'm afraid that the working class families will be forced out of their homes because we no longer can afford them. I'm afraid that the low-income family like myself will be the next unhoused neighbors. See, I used to be unhoused in the streets of Minneapolis, so I understand that we need a permanent solution, not a temporary fix. I have a background in criminal justice, so I know that our community members and our peace officers need to work together so we can have a safe place called Minneapolis. I have a background in finance, so I understand we need a leader that starts balancing our budget. That is why I'm running for the city of Minneapolis mayor. I want the community to have a voice and a say in our city. Thank you.
Candidate Revel.
My name is Andrea Revel, and I'm running for the mayor of Minneapolis. I want a safer Minneapolis. I want everyone to feel like they can walk outside downtown any time of the day and not have to worry and look over their shoulder. I have been a victim also of the crime. My car was broken into. I know that is a big deal. It has been running rampant all summer. And It has not been stopped, and I don't understand why. So we need to help the city be better. And safer everywhere is everywhere. I want more street lights. I want everyone to feel like they can trust their neighbors. Like, everyone should have that sense of community, that togetherness that we need.
Candidate Dwyer.
Good evening. I'm a candidate for the Socialist Workers Party. I'm also a member of Unite Here, Local 17. I'm running because the ills of capitalism that hit working people here in Minneapolis don't start here, and they're not going to be solved here. The assault workers face today are the result of the crisis of imperialism, which drives fierce competition among capitalist powers worldwide. And these rivalries fuel economic and military conflicts, deadly Jew-hating violence, and a march toward a third world war. That's the source of the attacks on working people here, and only the working class, by taking political power in a revolutionary struggle, can end it. Our campaign supports the fight against Jew hatred. We defend the right of Israel to exist and support Israel's fight to prevent another Holocaust. And I encourage everyone to support the striking members of Teamsters Local 320 at the university. Get your friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, and union members you know down to the picket line. Solidarity is important.
Candidate Pauke.
I'm Xavier Pauke, originally from Rylander, Wisconsin, but I've been here for the last 12 years now. I believe that proactivity versus reactivity to problems and crises that pop up should be the priority, and that's why I'm running. Don't want to be caught flat-footed when everything is happening too late.
Candidate McLeod.
Hello, Minneapolis and audience. I look out to you today, and I'm literally thinking about this question because I'm late to the race here. But I really thought, you know, I've spent pretty much my whole life helping people behind the scenes as an executive aide, a creative director, a creative strategist, and caregiver. I literally have spent my life making other people better, helping them in so many ways. And I felt like I owe it to Minneapolis to now step up and help all of you. And I mean, literally, when I turn on the news and when I see and hear and read everything, I just could not sit by and say, all right, you're just not going to do anything, everything that you know. I've lived around the world. Minneapolis has always been home. I was born in Illinois. I came here as a young girl, invited by Prince to be a dancer, and I always made Minneapolis my place, and I want to fight for you. I think all of you deserve it, and we've got work to do, and I'm willing to do it for you. I've been doing it for major people, and now I want to do it for Minneapolis.
Candidate Turner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laverne Turner. I'm running for Minneapolis Mayor. I am a lifelong resident of Minneapolis. I grew up on the south side, now living on the north side. I went to Roosevelt High School. I played varsity basketball for the Velt. And the reason why I'm running is because I love Minneapolis. And Minneapolis is suffering right now. She's suffering from overtaxation. She's suffering from the rise in violent crime in the dangerous streets. And I believe that I'm the only candidate that's going to be tough enough on crime to solve that problem so we can return back to peace, tranquility, and prosperity for the citizens of Minneapolis.
Candidate Davis.
I'm Dwayne Davis. I am a minister here in Minneapolis. But I'm running for mayor because I think we're at a mission moment right now. We have a very large number of issues that we have to confront, just like every other major city, by the way. But we have a decreasing tax base, we have a homelessness and affordable housing crisis, we are under a court-enforceable settlement agreement to make police reform, and all of those things are going to require leadership and collaboration and coordination at a multi-level effort here. And I'm running because I think we need to do that. But not only that, we also are confronting an autocratic and a liberal regime in Washington, D.C. that is determined that it's coming after us, and we need to be sure that we are ready for it. I'm ready for it because I spent 20 years in Washington working on Capitol Hill for 3 members of Congress, several progressive think tanks, working on issues of education, Social Security, housing, and transportation, and I have the skills needed to move us through the future.
Candidate Fry.
My name is Jacob Fry, and I am the mayor of Minneapolis. And through the toughest of times, through the most difficult of circumstances, when the lights were dimmest, our city stood tall. We came together, and I'm proud to say that Minneapolis is coming back. Whether it's affordable housing, we are presently producing 8.5 times the amount of deeply affordable housing since before I took office. We're working to drive down crime. We're working to drive up the number of officers that we have in our police department. And we simultaneously recognize that we need to push back on everything that Donald Trump is doing from Washington, but do things in the right and pragmatic way here in Minneapolis. I'm running for mayor because I love this city. I'm raising my 2 daughters here. My parents just moved out here in the last month, and I want to make sure that we realize every bit of potential together.
Candidate Peterson.
Councilman Fry was on the receiving end of my tongue a couple of times, and I didn't think very highly of him, but to the children in the audience who cannot hold their tongue, that man saved the country in 2020. This may sound like it's in conflict with what you've heard here, but I am running because Hubert Humphrey brought us affirmative action, making this state a criminal enterprise since before any of these people were born. And the 2020 should be viewed as sedition, and those responsible hung from the neck until dead.
Candidate Fata.
Hello everyone, my name is Omar Fateh, State Senator representing Southside Minneapolis District 62. I'm the proud son of Somali immigrants. I am the Senate Chair of Higher Education, where last biennium I managed a $1.1 billion budget, and a first-time father where I know nothing and I'm learning as I go along. And so I'm running because, just like all of you, I love this city, and I've seen time and time again all of you show up. And what I've heard loud and clear from residents is that right now, it seems like we're living a tale of 2 cities. One for the wealthy donors and the well-connected, and then the rest of us, our seniors, our young people, our transit riders, our renters. One side gets all the deals and goods, and the other side gets broken promises and vetoes. And so right now, we're at a moment in which we understand that it does not have to be this way. And together, we can build an affordable city that is accountable to us, and it's time for a mayor that works as hard as you do. Thank you.
Candidate Hampton.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is Jazz Hampton, and I cannot wait to be your next mayor here in Minneapolis. I also want to start by saying thank you, League of Women Voters, for making this possible and doing the work not only tonight, but all the way down every day of the year. I grew up within a few miles of here. I spent my entire life here. A dad who worked at the post office for his entire career and a mom who owned a struggling restaurant. And I watched them give back in a way that you never could fathom, taking in over 10 children that didn't have a consistent place to stay from the north side of Minneapolis into our 1,300 square foot home. And what that showed me was if you have the opportunity to be a part of a solution, you really need to do that work. And that's what I've tried to live out for my entire career. And also, those are the same qualifications I'm talking about today. I started as a public defender when I was in law school. I then worked in a corporate law firm just across the skyway here. And then 5 years ago, I left my job to build a platform that connects drivers to an attorney on a video call instantly when they've been pulled over to de-escalate the interaction and get everyone home safe. That's my work, and now I teach a finance course at St. Thomas, and all of those things are my qualifications to be the next mayor here in Minneapolis.
Thank you all. Now let's move on to questions. Our first category will be public safety, And the first group will be these candidates in this order: McLeod, Richardson, Short, Nobody, Peterson, Turner. If at any time tonight that you need a question repeated, please just ask. So the first question to that group is, the city contracts with community violence interrupter groups to help prevent serious conflicts, reduce violence, and improve public safety. How will you support and monitor the effectiveness of these groups? Candidate McLeod.
Yes, hello. You know, I actually live in the North Loop, Minneapolis warehouse district, and I see them quite frequently. You know, at Whole Foods and just around the corner, Target in particular. And so I don't drive, so I see them all the time because I walk Minneapolis like I'm in New York City. You know, I really do believe that there could be a bit more transparency as far as their background, as well as a bit more strategic information for the residents and people around. And also maybe be in uniforms and just have a bit more clarity as to what they're doing. I mean, I know that they're trying to prevent, but oftentimes I see them gathering in groups and standing around. But though I also believe they put a little presence for the neighborhood, at the same time, I would like to know a bit more about their abilities and their backgrounds and what they're capable of doing. Sometimes I just don't know if they're, thank you. Sorry about that.
Candidate Richardson.
Thank you. My opinion on these groups that the city contracts with are that they, as it stands right now, they may not be the most effective way for us to reimagine public safety. For one, the reason, which is the topic of the question, that the oversight and the accountability is incredibly hard to understand and to sort of flesh out. I also think that I'm a big proponent of using the resources that we have. Unfortunately, that does mean the police department. I understand that they're rife with flaws, but as a union member myself, part of the Carpenters Union, I understand the complexities of those contract negotiations. I've been a part of our bargaining committee to negotiate a contract for over 25,000 union carpenters, and so I know exactly how difficult it is to navigate that space, and I can promise you that throwing outside entities into that mix is not going to make it any more simple. Thank you.
Candidate Short.
First of all, I would gather them all together and make sure they are properly trained. Every ward safety, I will change their name to safety ambassador. Every safety ambassador will be trained the same way so they can take some of the responsibilities off our police officers, such as simple police reports. Where police officers are busy, those safety ambassadors can come to those individuals and make those police reports so the community can be heard first. Then I would make sure that if there is a safety ambassador in a ward, that city council member and Mr. Burnett will be responsible for meeting with them constantly and make sure that I'm aware of what is going on in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Candidate Nobody.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. The city contracts with community violence interrupter groups to help prevent serious conflicts, reduce violence, and improve public safety. How will you support and monitor the effectiveness of these groups?
Well, I'll protect people's rights, and I will take the guns away from the police that are doing community patrols. They'll have an AR in their car they cannot take out unless shots have already been fired. Because when I was in Iraq during Operation New Dawn, I had people screaming at me in Arabic with an AK in my face, and if I even fired a warning shot, I was going to die in prison. And when a police officer who is sworn to protect and serve the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, due process, fair trial, and takes that away from the person they're supposed to protect it from, that is treason, and they should die in prison. They shouldn't be executed because I don't believe in the death penalty, but they should not get out of prison ever. And the only cops that will have guns are the ones going against white-collar criminals and the ones policing the police that are not the Minneapolis Police Department and making sure that they don't treat our citizens the way they're not supposed to be treated, and understand that their authority is only responsibility. It does not authorize them to be an authoritarian Nazi telling people what to
Thank
do,
you.
using violence to control every situation.
Candidate Peterson.
When the calls for defunding the police came, I went, great, we're going to give power back to men. Turned out what that really seemed to mean was I can afford to never have police come to my house, or we want to have our own secret police. These programs have not demonstrated that they have transparency or that they're using even the protocols of the police, which are not great. Moreover, I want to make sure that everybody asks, and I've been searching for every candidate on here, why was Mohammed Noor's counter-ambush training not part of the public record in his trial? Why was the maximum restraint technique that was used against George Floyd for not wearing a mask, why was that still policy for MPD? Those are key questions.
Candidate Turner.
I don't support the violence interrupter initiative at all. I wouldn't fund it. I don't believe it's a way a proper way to police the community. I don't believe that's how you get tough on crime. There's no deterrence in the public safety sphere for Minneapolis citizens. We're pretty much a hostage for the criminal element of the city, and I don't believe violence interrupters help that. But I'm a little open. If I had to restructure it and reform it, I would put it and center it more around youth-oriented activities at high school games, neighborhood parks, things of that nature. But my gut instinct is to not support or fund that initiative when I'm mayor of Minneapolis.
Moving on to question number 2 and group number 2 in this order. Hampton, Revel, Davis, Dwyer, Fate, Fry, and Pocky. How should the city respond if ICE or other federal agencies endanger the safety, dignity, and constitutional rights of our immigrant communities in Minneapolis? Candidate Hampton.
I believe firmly that it is our job, especially as leaders in this city, to protect our neighbors regardless of their immigration status. That means when ICE and other federal agents are coming in, we have to be aware of what agents are here. And if it is a ICE operation and they are coming to do this within our community, not only are we not a part of the work that's being done, but if there is something like what happened at Lake and Bloomington, yes, I believe our officers should show up. I just want to ensure that they're protecting our neighbors and not assisting the federal government. I think that is the role of our local law enforcement. And I think you will hear it time and time again throughout this conversation today. We have a lot of things public safety have to address. My car has been stolen 3 times in the last 5 years from my home. We have work to do within the city of Minneapolis, and we should ensure that we're focusing in on that. Protecting the residents is the job of the Minneapolis Police Department. So yes, I want them to show up if ICE is present. I just want to ensure that their boots are facing the right direction when they do show up to make us all feel safer in that moment.
Candidate Revel.
I believe that ICE has a purpose. I believe that if you are a natural citizen here and you've done all the paperwork accordingly, that you should not have to worry about ICE showing up. And I do believe that the police officer, the Minneapolis Police Department, should be there as well, just to support them and so that things are followed according to protocol.
Candidate Davis.
I think we need to make it very clear that when ICE and Homeland Security showed up at Lake and Bloomington, the Department of Homeland Security was already in the courts at that time trying to explain why it was detaining and deporting people without due process of law. So if they are already having to give an account of why they're doing something, I will guarantee you that as mayor, I would be asking harder questions. Another thing I would be doing is asking the city attorney and the whole city to be girding itself for battle. What I mean by that is, right now we have our state attorney general who is very aggressively trying to respond to any of the illiberal and autocratic things that are coming out of Washington. I would want our city to be prepared to sue, to get court injunctions, to be just prepared for any kind of action that has happened. Look, I know that the Homeland Security is going to be doing a lot of things, but we have a responsibility to the residents of this city to protect them. And I support the separation ordinance that says that ICE shouldn't be coming in and violating that and having our police to help them do it.
Candidate Dwyer.
The Socialist Workers' Party believes that unions should lead the fight against the deportations and demand amnesty for immigrant workers to end all these deportations. That's the best thing we can do to fight for the unity of the working class. The whole purpose of this is to divide us, to make a whole layer of workers that are underpaid and afraid to organize and fight. That's why it's a life and death question for the labor movement. I think the way that the union SMART has responded in the fight for Kilgore Abreu Garcia in Maryland is an example for all of our unions, including mine, to take up this fight. You know, the whole sanctuary city thing is a bit of a fraud because people are still being deported from cities that declare themselves that. That's why a fight for amnesty for all immigrant workers is so important, and we encourage everybody to join in that fight. Thank you.
Candidate Fate.
Yeah, what we saw on June 3rd on Lake in Bloomington isn't a one-off. We know that we have a hostile federal government. But where the failure occurred is when the administration did not alert the city council in a timely manner. They were left untold for hours, and they're a direct connection to the community. It was, and which why you saw so many community members come out and caused chaos and anxiety levels going up, and rightfully so. And what we learned is that we need to strengthen our separation ordinance. I believe that crowd disbursement or not, that MPD should not be collaborating with ICE, period, under any circumstance. Now, we can do extra things like collaborating with the boots on the ground multilingual organizations, some of which, by the way, were the source of information on that day in which some elected officials found out from that this was happening. Things that they do like know your rights training and legal counsel. Those are the things that the city can do in the immediate.
Candidate Fry.
In Minneapolis, we don't think of them as undocumented immigrants. We think of them as our neighbors. We love them, we will stand up for them, and we will not cooperate with any federal agency, ICE or otherwise, around immigration enforcement work. We're going to do the important work, not just around thinking about suing or proactively preparing for a lawsuit. We are preemptively suing at this moment. We have done the work to make sure that our separation ordinance is up to par, and we've also given very clear directives to our police department that they are not to coordinate with law enforcement agencies doing immigration work, and we are not to ask immigrants or anybody their documentation status. Look, I want our officers doing the important work around fighting crime, around preventing murders and carjackings. You know what I don't want them doing? Spending a single second hunting down a father who happened to just drop their kids off at daycare and go into work a 12-hour shift who happens to be from Ecuador.
Candidate Pocky.
As it's been said, you know, the MPD is an integral part of Minneapolis, and the only presence that I would want them to be showing up is to protect our citizens from ICE while they are protesting against what ICE is doing.
Moving on to our next category, which is housing. And group one will be Peterson, Pocky, Hampton, Turner, Richardson,
You didn't ask me that question.
Revel, and nobody. The question is this: how will you address the rising cost of housing and make it it more affordable for all residents, including renters, unhoused, first-time homebuyers, seniors, etc. Candidate Peterson.
One of the central questions in this whole campaign is whether or not Minneapolis is going to be part of the United States or whether it's going to start its own thing. Right? You'll notice this when you look back at this. As far as housing, right now, Minnesota is under investigation for a massive amount of fraud, right? Much of that is around housing, especially around the Department of Human Services, right? This is going to be such an incredible scandal that it'll be astonishing if we're not forced to secede. There you go.
Candidate Pocky.
The housing issue in Minneapolis, by my understanding, because I've been living in the same place for 8 years now, my rent hasn't changed. I think that should just be the normal across the city. When we're getting these buildings built and having people move in either by subsidy or through grants or housing vouchers, it should always be covered and shouldn't be changing every year because the cost for property taxes has risen up, or that we just need to get people evicted out so we can get it fixed up and raise the rent again. So, yeah.
Candidate Hampton.
When I talk to residents, affordable housing is one of the top 3 things that I hear. Whether you're one of our seniors that are trying to age in place with dignity, whether you just graduated college and don't know if you're going to be able to afford to live in the same city that you work, or if you are one of our neighbors that doesn't have a place to sleep at night. And here's what I believe. We have to do multifunctional work to answer this call. We have to reform some of our zoning practices and improve some ones that are already in place. Yes, it's great to have multifamily units, but what if each unit is $1 million each when it's being built? It doesn't help the intended need that we're trying to address. We have to cut some of the red tape that's present and improve some of the incentives for people who are building actual affordable housing within our city. These are specific, tangible things we need to do to improve this process, because here's what I know to be true. Renters continue to see their rents go up, and people cannot afford to live in this city right now. I talked to a duplex owner who said if they didn't have the rent from the tenant next door, they would have already been priced out of their home before retirement. This is the work that we have to do immediately.
Candidate Turner.
I would have cut taxes. I think on the renter side, I think rents go up because we're overtaxing property owners. If we cut back on the taxes of property owners, then they don't have to raise the rent. And as far as the homeless are concerned, I think we're mixing apples and oranges on that subject. I don't think we have a homeless problem. We have a drug epidemic problem. And until we address the root cause of these homeless people's problem of drug addiction, we're not going to get them off the streets. They're not going to be housed. And stop conflating problem with the housing issue. There's 2 different issues. I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to give property relief to property owners, and I would hope that with that tax cut, they will not raise the rents on their renters.
Candidate Richardson.
Thank you. I think a lot of good things have been said by the other candidates on this issue, and I agree it's incredibly complex. To what the candidate to my left just said, a root cause to a lot of these issues, housing being one of them, and that root cause is opportunity. That in order for us to make housing more affordable, we need to have the opportunity, the economic opportunity and the job opportunities and the prospects for people to be able to live anywhere. Because it doesn't matter what level of affordability our housing is at if our young people growing up in the city don't have the opportunity and the outlook to live a successful and meaningful life through employment in the city, then it's not going to matter what housing is available. And I think that through Mayor Fry's work on the 2040 plan, there were some good things that were put into place and into motion. However, I think that lacking information and the nuance on that, and simply saying we're going to sell off this expensive plot of land in the middle of the city to the highest bidder so that they can build as many units as possible is not the right idea. I think that thoughtful and community-based housing is the answer. Thank you.
Candidate Revel.
I too believe that the taxes need to be halted. I think that we can create some revenue and help the people that actually need the help. And mental health is a huge issue in the city, along with the drug use. We need to get a cap on that and have better programs, more outreach, and help the housing just in general. I think we could integrate the housing a lot more than we are so that we could get the people off the streets and so they have a warm place to sleep every night. There's no reason that they should be sleeping on the street. Absolutely none.
Candidate Nobody.
Housing first of all. But when I was retired from the Army in 2013, I did not have my name on a lease until I went over in 2017, in July of 2017 over north. And part of that time I was couch surfing, part of the time I was home free, living in my truck, free of the burden of having a home. And part of that I was homeless. I felt more homeless than probably. You can't be that homeless unless you are a 100% disabled veteran who doesn't have a home. And what we need to do is the right thing, which is the only thing I know how to do, because I can just do whatever I want and I'm still doing the right thing. That's why they call me Nobody. And so what we're going to do is we're going to not cater to the people who don't need any help, the landlords and the CEOs. We're going to cater to the workers, make sure we're going to shrink the pay gap, and then we're going to tell the landlords you can't charge more than you need to cover the rent and expenses of upkeep and maybe a little bit in your pocket. You don't need to be rich just for owning things. That's garbage.
Thank you. Group 2 will be Short, Fate, Dwyer, Davis, McLeod, Fry. What will you do to specifically address substandard, overcrowded, or abandoned properties in Minneapolis? Candidate Short.
Repeat that question. I'm trying to, is that apartments or?
What will you do to specifically address substandard, overcrowded, or abandoned properties in Minneapolis?
I would, I'm kind of confused in the question, but because overcrowded and then abandoned is two different words to my dictionary. So I'm like confused in the conversation. But if we're talking about overcrowding housing, I'm assuming we're talking about housing. First of all, we need to fix the root of the cause, and many people don't know that other states have been dropping off their unhoused neighbors in our neighborhood. Bus tickets, one-way bus tickets, one-way airline tickets, especially on Lake Street where I live. The newspaper has been talking about that for years, and first of all, I would stop that. And we need to focus on our individuals that is unhoused in our streets of Minneapolis. Thank you.
Candidate Fate.
Yeah, there's a whole host of reasons why that occurs, but for the interest of time, I'll give one quick story. And it has to do with the root cause of the issue, specifically also around livable conditions. And that is for too many properties, there are out-of-state entities buying up large swaths of property just for the intent of profits, from Atlanta to Los Angeles to New York and so on. And so I got to visit a couple complexes out in Minneapolis, in I believe Long Park. And these folks showed me that their doors broken into, there was black mold in the units, there was, their mailboxes was broken, they had to go to the post office to get their mail. And so there's a whole host of issues they were facing. They formed a tenant union, but even when they won their case, the property owners would rather eat the costs of the penalty rather than do the right thing and give people livable conditions. And so we shouldn't be allowing folks from out of state to buy such large amounts of properties just for their own profit motive.
Candidate Dwyer.
Well, like all questions, this is a class question. It's a question that affects working people much more than anybody else because we're the ones that get the substandard housing. The housing that's falling apart, the housing in floodplains, the housing built on waste dumps, et cetera, et cetera. Our campaign advocates a federally funded jobs program to put people to work, to do two things, to fight against unemployment, which is much higher than they say, and to also put people to work at union scale wages, rebuilding the infrastructure that we need rebuilt. And part of that is housing. Part of that is refurbishing and repairing buildings that are in states of disrepair that could be housing people that aren't now. Those are the questions that we have to take up, and we think it's something for working people to fight for, independent of whether you're a Democrat or Republican. It's something that's a class issue for workers. Thank you.
Candidate Davis.
I really appreciate this question. I am a resident of North Minneapolis, and I regularly walk down West Broadway, and you will see a lot of substandard and abandoned property on that route. And you will also notice, if you go to any area of the city that is underserved, you will find substandard and abandoned property. And there are many things that we can do. It starts by investing in those neighborhoods. We have been neglecting too many neighborhoods with our attention on other more popular sizes. We should really be focused on thriving communities throughout the city. The second thing is we can have some zoning changes. We can be sure that we are decommodifying, finding those speculators, making some zoning and regulatory changes to make sure that they are not using this as a landscape for their speculation. And then even the state was debating a land use tax. That is, getting those absentee landlords who have property they're not developing and they're letting lying waste. And I think that way we can get to some of those substandard and abandoned housing.
Candidate McLeod.
This is really a complicated question. You know, I've got relatives who are going through like homelessness and displacement, and I mean, they are literally struggling with families every single day. And I think about this all the time, like where are they gonna go? I mean, some of them are in and out of homeless shelters, and for a fact, we know that the state of Minnesota literally contributes loads of money to housing. I mean, I've lived in many places around the US, and I've never been to a place as Minneapolis is so generous. And I think the money is being spent like poorly, honestly, just because if you spend, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars and you still have a ton of people with nowhere to go, someone's not managing it properly. Honestly, really think about all the money that's been spent on housing in Minneapolis. And people are still struggling. I think the wrong people are in place to help manage how do we go about housing people. We need new leadership to figure that out.
Candidate Fry.
We invest in people and we invest in homes. In Minneapolis, we believe that housing is a right and everybody should have that safe place to go home to at the end of the night, rest their head on the pillow and rejuvenate for the next day. And Minneapolis is broadly recognized right now as the top affordable housing city in the country. We're producing 8.5 times the amount of deeply affordable housing since before I took office, and we've managed to keep rents down more than virtually any city in the country. Does that mean that we're done? No, we've got more work to do. As far as vacant and boarded buildings go, you know what we can do with them? Get families in them. Help them create home ownership opportunities so that they can pass that generational wealth on to their kids. And then finally, we've got a regulatory services division. So to the extent that there is overcrowding, we have inspectors that can work directly with those in homes to make sure that the conditions are not only habitable, they are up to par.
Our next category is economic development. Group 1, Revel, McLeod, Short, Hampton, Davis, Pocky, Fry. What responsibility does the mayor's office have to support small and local businesses in general, and specifically those who are being negatively affected by ongoing construction projects or crime? Candidate Revel.
I believe that we need to do the construction maybe a little bit, not in so many hot spots all at once. I know that I was affected by the Penn Avenue was shut down, and then the other, was it Xerxes? That was shut down as well, and that made a big hassle for anybody that lives in the community over there for driving around and getting anywhere. And I just think that maybe just do one bridge at a time or one exit at a time. And I also think that we could make revenue for the city for sure. We definitely have a lot of great resources and things that are not being tapped and that could be utilized. Everybody knows what Minnehaha Falls is. It is known through the state. I believe that our parks are really just needing a lot of help. We could renovate that and make that into like an event area as well, make the restaurant better, make everything nicer, fresher, cleaner, redo the stairs, invest into our city.
Candidate McLeod.
Will you repeat the question, please?
I will.
Thank you.
What responsibility does the mayor's office have to support small and local businesses in general, and specifically those who are being negatively affected by ongoing construction projects or crime?
Another question. I mean, all these questions are amazing, but I've been thinking about small business owners and, you know, recently I visited an alterations lady who's on Hennepin, and she said that she was just suffering so much because of all the construction. The same thing was happening, I think, in Lindale. And, you know, you get pockets of construction. I think it's important that we figure out a way to do construction where we're more mindful. So as far as timing, as far as mapping out what goes, you know, as far as like, you know, what section of the street is being used and how people can still access their businesses. And as far as engaging with everybody, I think we should have a really great relationship with our small business owners so they can understand that we are supporting them every step of the way, regardless of construction or not.
Candidate Short.
First of all, we need to make sure that we're working with the public works to make sure that one side of the street is done and make sure it's done on time. Then do the other side so we at least can have open traffic for that small business to still have businesses. Second of all, because construction is an option window for our small businesses to be at risk, we need to make sure that officers or safety ambassadors work on that in that area to make sure that the small businesses stay in our community and feel safe in our community. And we need to make sure that if they are struggling because of foot traffic, then we need to support them financially. Thank you.
Candidate Hampton.
As a small business owner myself, I can tell you specifically, yes, the mayor absolutely has a duty to support small businesses. And the question was about crime and construction. I'll start with crime. This is a 1 minute question, and so I won't address how, but we need to improve the response to 911 calls so that businesses feel like someone's actually going to come. Like the restaurant owner I just talked to said when we called, we had to wait 4 hours for someone to come after someone's car was stolen. When it comes to construction, there's 3 very specific things we can do to support small businesses. Improve intergovernmental relations to ensure that if a county is going to work on Xerxes, then we will not be doing work 2 streets over to congest that area and prevent people from getting to those businesses. That's number 1. Number 2, we have to ensure that if we are going to be honest, or if we're going to do this work, we have to be honest about how long it's going to take. I talked to a small business owner that said the construction in front of their restaurant that they just opened would be 6 weeks long. It took 6 months. They had to take out a second line of credit just to stay open to try to survive. They are now scared to open a second location of that restaurant. This is the work that we have to stand up and do for our small businesses. It's vital.
Candidate Davis.
Yes, the city has a direct responsibility to encourage, support, and incentivize small and local business. And it starts with helping business navigate bureaucracy, making sure that they have a place to go in the city, get all their questions answered, get their responses to things that they need to do. But when it comes to those major projects, the one thing that we really have to do, and this writ large around the state, is sequencing projects in a way that we can also know who's going to be impacted, and we can also plan better, and communities can plan better. But barring that, if we have to have a major project happen, the government, every government should look at real dollars for anti-displacement. That is the most important thing. One of the most successful anti-displacement program came during COVID. The federal government said, we know that you're not going to be able to have your business open, you're not going to be able to go to school, and we're going to make you whole. We're going to hold you harmless. We need to look at that when we have these major projects. With crime, this is where violence interruption can help us. Those violence interrupters can be a real partner in helping small business.
Candidate Pocky.
Improving the communication between the small businesses and the city itself so that everyone's in the loop about what is going to be happening in your neighborhood, who's going to be the contact point to make sure that people can come and go and are able to get to work, be on time for things, and not be getting lost in just bulk traffic and ending up in neighborhoods you've never even been in just because of all the reroutes. It's a very frustrating thing, especially like with 94 being closed for just over the Mississippi for several months. It was having to go all the way around just to go to the university when I live at Cedar Riverside, and it takes now 5 minutes to almost 20 to 30 just sitting on the bridge. It's ridiculous.
Candidate Fry.
I agree with most every single statement that the previous candidates have said. And then there's the additional work that we do on a daily basis as mayor, and it revolves around listening to these small and local businesses, hearing what their concerns are, adapting to the real world challenges that they are seeing. In the cases of crime, I am up late at night and up early in the morning talking to these small and local business owners to figure out how can we get a squad to head by your business more often every day. How can we get a deep connection with an officer or with a violence prevention specialist so that when a difficult circumstance does arise, you know that person by name? But it's not just that. It's around construction. And construction is one of those necessary things that we have in Minnesota. It's either winter season or it's construction season. You gotta do the work, and we need to be doing it efficiently, as quickly as possible, and on budget. And while some of these projects, yes, they are hard, and they do require a change out of the guts of the street, they're necessary, and we can do it even better.
The next group will be Turner, Richardson, Nobody, Peterson, Fate, Dwyer. Minneapolis is experiencing a revenue loss in downtown Minneapolis, which has a direct impact on our property taxes increasing. What alternatives would you consider to help raise revenue?
I really like this question.
Candidate Turner, go ahead.
I really like this question. For those who know me and follow me, I'm proposing 100% transformation of Minneapolis into a smart city. And the way we can do that is through business investment. Through my campaign, I reached out to those that build smart cities and those who want to actually invest in my vision for a smart city. And I can do this without even raising taxes on the citizens of Minneapolis. If we have investors willing to propel us into the 21st century, the advancements of technology that's available to us and clean energy and all the things that with a smart city environment, we can do that, and that'll provide enough economic investment to downtown and the rest of the city.
Candidate Richardson.
Thank you. First off, I just got to say I'm a little upset I didn't get the construction question as a construction worker, but
Random.
that's okay. I just want to say I do understand those complexities pretty well. I work on job sites every day. But to the question at hand about downtown Minneapolis, so I hear what the candidate to my left is saying about smart cities. As a 30-year resident of Minneapolis, I will say that I think that we've lost a little bit of our culture as a city the things that I grew up with around public parks and public education and arts and crafts and music and entertainment, those things have gone by the wayside. I'm not sure that a smart city is necessarily the answer for that, partially because in order to have good usage of those things, even of a smart city, of any sort of entertainment or any sort of economic improvement, you have to have people that have the means and the ways and the involvement and the investment in their community to participate in those things. And so my is centered around creating those opportunities and creating meaningful work in the downtown area for people that isn't just centered around typing at a computer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate nobody.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Minneapolis is experiencing a revenue loss in downtown Minneapolis, which has a direct impact on our property taxes increasing. What alternatives would you consider to help raise revenue?
Well, we could, instead of forcing people to go back to work when they are more productive working at home, we could convert some of that office space into living space, and we could look, they're billionaires that own these buildings. I don't understand why they're complaining about paying taxes when they whatever. We can increase the ability of work unionized to where if their boss tries to make them vote for a union, they can just strike that, and I'll be their union rep, and I'll come talk to their CEO that you're going to take the deal, or you're going to completely dissolve your company. You can't even move. If we have enough money to have fun and let things be open at night. On Saturday, I went downtown and I saw more cops. I thought I was in D.C. with how many cops were everywhere. And then I get downtown and I thought I was in St. Paul because there was nobody there at 10 p.m. and then on a Saturday night. And then I get over to the arcade and they won't let me in because I'm having too much fun sober to go into the arcade. And I get attacked by people. And some are cops that got assaulted.
Candidate nobody, we're moving on
like
to the
a
next
peanut.
candidate. Candidate Peterson.
We're laughing at a veteran. This city has no business spending any money beyond emergency services and utilities until there has been a federal investigation into 2020 and a 38-year pattern of affirmative action. That man is homeless because the political class in this state and this city have been involved in racketeering. And I'm calling on Harmeet Dillon to investigate not just the state of Minnesota, but the city of Minneapolis for their illegal pattern of discrimination.
Yeah, make America great again.
Downtown will take care of itself if you provide basic safety and utilities for the corporations down there. Thank you.
Candidate Fate.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's many things we can do. I would like to explore and go through with a commercial vacancy tax to address vacant storefronts. I appreciate that Reverend Davis earlier brought up the idea of a land value tax, which I think is a great idea. And I was honored to be the chief author at the state level for that legislation. And we're very close to getting it across the finish line, but having the partnerships and the relationships at the Capitol, I'm confident that as mayor we can get it done because it was a bipartisan bill. And number two, and this kind of ties to housing, but we got to build more housing, and density is a great thing. And what do I mean by that? We know that when we add more people, especially downtown, converting as many buildings as we can to housing, that the more people you have, the less of a tax burden on each individual person. And I think that we can get there and we can make it happen.
Candidate Dwyer.
My concern isn't so much with downtown as it is with the working class areas of the city. A lot of focus is spent on downtown, and there's big articles today about Target. They're having their big meeting here in town. They're saying, oh, you have to go back to work downtown now. And, you know, I think that we have to concentrate on making the working class neighborhoods better. the housing there, all the social services, everything. That should be our priority. I think, if we need to convert some of these empty dinosaur skyscrapers downtown, times are changing, into housing, there's something a federal jobs program could do and put people in them. Thank you. I'm also against any taxes on working people. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to switch it up for just a moment and insert what I like to call a lightning round question. This is going to be a multiple choice answer. And the question is this: which concept do you favor for the George Floyd Square? And your choices will be: 1, flexible open plan, which keeps the intersection open to vehicle and public transit traffic, but is closed for public events. Option 2, a transit mall, which restricts through traffic except bus service while still allowing for local access and emergency vehicles. Choice 3, a pedestrian plaza. It restricts through traffic, creating a pedestrian-only zone to be used as a memorial and public space. Or choice 4 is undecided. So your choices are flexible open, transit mall, pedestrian plaza, or undecided. And why don't we start with candidate Davis and we'll just go down the line.
Flexible open.
Undecided.
Pedestrian plaza.
Flexible open.
Flexible open.
Flexible open, considering they've already spent over $3 million on a plan that didn't work. Definitely.
No editorials, just multiple choice.
Pedestrian plaza.
All right.
Public execution for sedition.
For Mayor Fire.
Flexible open.
Flexible open.
Flexible open.
Is there another choice? What if I don't agree with any of those? I'm decided, but my choice isn't listed. I want it totally reopened. Totally reopened, like it used to be.
All right.
Elwood North, I'll leave that to the...
All right, back to our old format. The next category is environment and climate. And the first group is Fry, Dwyer, Short, Fate, Davis, Hampton. Minneapolis's climate equity plan aims to reach zero waste by 2050. What are your priorities to reach this goal? Candidate Fry.
In Minneapolis, my administration created something called the Clean Energy Legacy Initiative. And what that does is it takes the franchise fees coming from both Excel and Centerpoint. It's somewhere between $6 and approximately $12 million per year. And it puts it directly into clean energy work. Not just, but actually doing it. And we have done more over the last year than the previous 10 combined to drive down our per capita carbon output, to weatherize homes, to make sure that we're doing the important work around resilience to protect the whole world. Because here's the thing. As of a number of years ago, Minneapolis was the city's second most impacted by climate change in the entire country. First was New Orleans, was Minneapolis. And that's because the way that our thaw cycle is conducted has changed dramatically. The way that the world warming has changed dramatically, and we need to be doing everything possible to change with it.
Candidate Dwyer.
The best thing we can do for the environment is fight against capitalism. There's no other way to put it. As long as private profit, everything else, they're going to keep polluting. Every treaty that's ever been signed, every international meeting that's ever been held, nothing has changed. It's only when working people fighting for safety on the job and in the areas where we push that back to capitalists, I think taking power out of their hands and using that power to construct a better world is the only way this question is going to be solved. It's a question for all of humanity, and it's a class question like every other political question.
Candidate Short.
I've done my research, and New York and New Jersey has invested in solar panels and heat pumps. Heat pumps will definitely heat our homes during the winter months, and if New Jersey and New York, a cold city like them, can do it, we can as well, because we need to use our solar panels and use Mother Nature as we was supposed to intended. And I would be focused on our seniors to get around in our electric bikes or electric scooters, and so would our children, because nowadays they ride them more than anybody. But we need to make sure that everyone has affordable electricity and heat, and solar panels is what we're looking for. Thank you.
Candidate Fateh.
Yeah, our climate crisis is a global issue that starts locally. And we need to do a lot more as a city, such as implementing the carbon fees, doing things like implementing weatherization projects, investing more heavily in our zero waste goals, in which we heard from our partners at the county that if we are going to shut down the HERC responsibly, which we all want to do, we got to invest more heavily and do better around our zero waste goals. Number 3, we got to support our local projects, things like the East Phillips Urban Farm, local projects that work towards reversing the decades and generations of systemic environmental racism. Because I represent a district in which I hear time and time again from people that are disproportionately affected with higher asthma rates, higher rates of cancer, higher rates of heart disease. And as a city, we can do it if we have the political will.
Candidate Davis.
One of the things I love our goals, and we have good goals. They are very measured and they're very thoughtful. But there are two things that are very important. One, it's going to cost a lot of money to do some of that, to get to 100% renewable. It's going to really get down to zero waste. Right now, the HERC is slated to close, and we have been on where that garbage is going to go, where that waste is going to go. I've heard from neighborhood people who said, you know, there's so many people in their neighborhoods who have the compostable unit, but they don't know how to use it. So we're not educating our citizens how they're going to help us get to zero waste. So we have a lot of work to do. But more importantly, I think it's important that we make sure that while we are doing and making every effort to reach our goals, we also make sure that the biggest polluters are joining us in reaching their goals. And we have to be far more aggressive on that. We also have to be far more aggressive in what we are asking of our federal and state governments in this effort.
Candidate Hampton.
Listen, this work is incredibly important, and oftentimes we think of it as planting trees and things will get better, but we have to take specific steps to move in the right direction. And here's one of my concerns that I always have when we talk about these long-term plans. They're put in place, and the people that are going to be in place when that far down the road date comes are not the same people that put it in place. We have to ensure right now that we're continuing to be on track. And if we are not on track, we have to pause and say, are we going to do more in this moment, or are we going to change the end date? Don't worry, my phone goes off all the time. 3 kids, it happens. And to do this, we have to, with the franchise fee, we have to ensure that we're going to continue working to ensure not only are we having a carrot, but a stick in this situation as well. If large organizations like Xcel Energy and others need to come to the table, we need to ensure they have the incentives to be there. And beyond that, one of the most important parts of this conversation is some of the people that are most deeply affected are our marginalized communities. The work has to start in those communities and grow to the rest of the city as well.
The next question will go to Nobody, Turner, Peterson, Pocky, Revel, Richardson, McLeod. What programs, policies, or tools would you expand or create to help renters and multifamily unit residents save energy, and reduce their energy cost burden? Candidate nobody.
Instead of reduce energy costs, we'd like to fund. The way that they fund the energy in this country is insane because they only get paid back. They can only charge you on your bill for building new infrastructure, so they don't do updates on the old infrastructure. They don't update anything, and they don't even always finish. They often don't finish what they try to build. They just charge you extra money for things they never finish and stop building. And so we need to recode how they charge bills. That's how we fix it. And probably build more nuclear plants because that's the cleanest energy we have available right now. At least in a place where we don't have a lot of sun. And I don't think windmills would make the whales crazy from Minneapolis, but we don't have space in Minneapolis for windmills anyway. So I don't know why anybody thinks they represent farmers when they're mayor of Minneapolis. I don't know.
Candidate Turner.
As a cornerstone of my Minneapolis Smart City Mega Project that I'm proposing, I want to break up the monopolies of the two main traditional energy providers in Minneapolis, which is Xcel and CenterPoint. And I have all the above alternative energy advocacy that, once we break up these monopolies and we add some competition to the energy sector for consumers, we have competition, we can bring around the price, we can have a better quality of product, and most importantly, again, that will bring down the price of energy for all homes if we have competition in the marketplace.
Candidate Peterson.
This one's actually easy and right in my wheelhouse. I, in addition to being the technical director of the Minneapolis Telecommunications Network, I'm also an AI engineer, and I say let the corporations pay for it. You can do distributed AI and heat exchange systems that we could heat every building in the city, including residential, and it would actually be a profit center.
Candidate Pocky.
As it's been said, updating the infrastructure across the city and making everything more efficient so that energy, heat is not being wasted would be that fast track to making sure that everyone's costs are going down.
Candidate Revel.
I would like to see a lot more solar. I know all of our stoplights and all of our city buildings should be run by some other alternative energy. The heat pump is a great way to go. The solar, we have all these great buildings that have amazing rooftops that are getting a lot of sun, and they could be actually helping cut the cost for the taxpayer, because if we reduce the cost of electricity for the taxpayer through the programs like the city has, like with the stoplights, with the city, like the city centers, anything that is run that is owned by the city could be run with the heat pump or solar. Even wind is a possibility.
Candidate Richardson.
Could you repeat the question?
What programs, policies, or tools would you expand or create to help renters and multifamily unit residents save energy and reduce their energy cost burden?
Thank you. That's a really good question, and I think that the main thing that we can do as lawmakers and as city officials is to empower the residents of Minneapolis to live lives that are less dependent on energy, less dependent on fossil fuels, things such as more walkable areas, and I know I voted against the pedestrian mall for George Floyd Square, but I do believe that there's a place for walkable areas in the city, particularly downtown. And so obviously all these great technologies that people have mentioned, they're an integral part of it, but again, more importantly, I think focusing on the opportunities for people to live the lives that they want to live, because all of these ideas sound great because they're great money makers for the city, or because they're going to bring investment, or they're going to be good for business. But when it comes down to it, I think the most important thing is the people, and listening to what people want to do with their lives and the way that they want to live their lives. And I think that almost across the board, the residents of Minneapolis want to live climate conscious lives. Thank you.
Candidate McLeod.
You know, I really want to be realistic about this because, again, I've got family members who talk about the rising prices of their heating bill, their electric bills. But you know what? Minneapolis actually have a ton of programs that will pay for people's electricity, pay for their gas, pay for all sorts of things. There are programs out there that Minneapolis is already paying for. In addition, I receive an email all the time from Xcel Energy and Centerpoint, and they're telling me ways how to reduce. There's apps. There's so many ways that try and help us reduce our bills. I mean, this is 2025. Obviously, I'm not an environmental specialist, but what I could do, obviously, is bring people together, the experts, to sit us down and let us know what we should do. But I know for a fact that Xcel and Centerpoint, not only do they give benefits and rebates and all sorts of things to help people pay their bills, they do. And that's not happening in many places, but it's happening in Minneapolis.
The next subject is transportation. The first group is Davis, Revel, Richardson, Peterson, Short, and Hampton. What, if anything, would you do to improve our current public transportation system's accessibility and safety for users in the city's different communities? And we'll start with candidate Davis.
Thank you so much. I firmly believe in a multimodal transportation system, meaning that all transportation options are available, all accessible. And we need to do it because one of the things that it's all intersected and interconnected. One of the things that I've been talked to about, certainly for people in my neighborhood in North Minneapolis, but across the city, about how to get around, how to get to jobs, how to get to doctors. We need to be really investing in a multimodal transportation system. That's why I'm a big supporter of the Blue Line extension. I think that is a very important way to make sure that people can have access to transportation and get around the city, whether it's to jobs or to schools or to doctors. But finally, this also comes in about investing. That investment in every neighborhood to make sure that every community is thriving. It starts with deciding to invest, but also bringing people in. One of the things that we need to do is talk to seniors and people with mobility challenges to make sure that transportation is accessible and available to them at all times.
Candidate Revel.
I believe that everybody should have access to the whole city. You should not be limited to where you live. I think that we could actually add different pieces of transportation more so. Like even bikes that could be part of the public transit system. Why couldn't we do that? That would be something that would be so simple. Some people won't have to walk so far to get to the bus station. Make that part of their daily life. They could actually just leave the bike at the bus station, and then someone else can take it, and it just keeps cycling the bikes. And they could even be e-bikes and make it part of their bus card.
Candidate Richardson.
Thank you. I think this is a huge opportunity for the city of Minneapolis, and I'll give an example of where I think we may have missed the opportunity a little bit recently. And this is no real strong criticism of our governor, Governor Walz, but when we decided to give out licenses to people, the 80,000 licenses that were made available for people that were, I believe, in some way undocumented or immigrants. I think that there was a real opportunity there for us to bolster our metro transit system by, instead of just forking over a bunch of driver's licenses to people who had never driven in this country, who are unfamiliar with our laws and customs, we could have given them more opportunities to enter into the metro transit system and bolster that system that's looking for ridership, that's looking for hardworking citizens needing to get to places, needing to get to jobs. I think that sort of interconnected thoughtfulness is what's really going to bring those things back. Thank you.
Candidate Peterson.
In 1970, during the riots, Governor Harold Levander, via executive order, started the Met Council. It overrides your vote as a citizen of Minneapolis and Hennepin County, so you don't really have much of an option as far as transportation. I'm just going to call on whoever the next governor is to disband that. If not, the federal government should include this as part of their investigation into the 2020 sedition.
Candidate Short.
First of all, I would, I use the transit all the time. The only reason I don't use it more often is because they cut the hours. I used to work second shift, and the buses used to run late. We need to bring that back so people who work second and third shift can have the opportunity to use the transit instead of their own transportation. And if they're tired, someone else is driving. Second of all, we definitely need to make our bus station a lot cleaner, and that means clean it not once in the middle of the night, clean it constantly, because we went through COVID, and I don't like germs either. But third of all, we need to make it safe for our neighbors, so our neighbors, such as our suburban neighbors, want our transit to come into their city and make our city welcoming to make it safe to ride the transit. Thank you.
Candidate Hampton.
There's a lot of stigma that goes into public transportation, and I think that's one of the things that we have to dismantle first and foremost. One of the first things that we have to do is ensure that when we're having this accessibility conversation, all the people are at the table that actually need assistance in that way. If we aren't hearing these voices, then we don't know about the changes we have to make. The second we have to address is the speed of transportation. I have a coworker that lives about half a mile or 0.8 miles from our office, and she would rather Uber and pay 3 times the cost of the bus because it takes 4 times the amount of time to get her to the office. That is too much time that she does not have available to give. We have to ensure the speed is picked up, but the most important thing that I hear time and time again for residents is safety. I'm very happy that we have a texting ability when you're on public transit, whether it's the light rail or a bus, but we have to improve that safety. I just talked to a resident who, when he got off of the bus, there was no one present and he felt unsafe and someone started chasing him. He called 911 and ran all the way home, and when they came, they just drove by and kept going and said it was all clear. If we don't feel like this transportation is safe and running late, we will not have more people taking advantage of that platform.
The next group is Pocky, Dwyer, Fate, McLeod, Fry, Turner, nobody. How will you balance our transportation needs with drivers, bicyclists, public transit riders, and pedestrians all needing safety and accessibility? Candidate Fate. Oh, I'm sorry. This goes to Candidate Pocky.
It is a difficult thing trying to balance all of that, but at least for downtown Minneapolis, for the most part, it's streamlined through the use of one-ways, and utilizing that across the city would probably be the easiest way to make it safer if everyone's going in the same direction. That does also redirect traffic, though, and cause holdups when you're trying to get to a place, and the only way to get to it is rerouting back and forth. But that would be an ideal situation.
Candidate Dwyer.
Well, I think the idea that was raised, that people have been talking about here, that the public transportation has to be a 24-hour thing. My last job was 20 miles each way. There's no way I could have had that job if I depended on public transportation, particularly the hours I was working. And the reason I took that job was because it paid more, and it was union. So that's a question working people face all the time. Do I stay here and get a lower paying job, or I work 2 or 3 jobs, or can I get a job that pays a living wage that's union and take public transportation? It's a big question, and I think that as long as you plan the transportation system with the working class as your first priority and workers helping to plan it, you'll have the best transportation system.
Candidate Fate.
Yeah, just like any other issue, of course, we have diverse needs and wants among different residents. But we all also understand that we need to make our city more walkable, bikeable, whether folks want to roll, if they're disabled, take a bus, that all of the above are needed. And I've seen at the Capitol what we can accomplish, because when we listen, we got things done like the Metro sales tax, which made historic investments in our public transit system, so that we know we need to move away from things like highway expansion, but more towards addressing our climate goals and pushing folks to take our transit system. But these ideas will all take more funding, and we need a cross-jurisdictional approach with our county and with our state leaders. And I was proud this year to partner with Councilmember Koski to bring in $1 million in traffic calming, because we heard traffic safety was a big concern, things like bump outs and things like that, to make sure that folks are being protected whether they're driving or walking or biking.
Thank you. Candidate McLeod.
Will you read the question again? I want to make sure I really understand it.
How will you balance our transportation needs with drivers, bicyclists, public transit riders, and pedestrians all needing safety and accessibility?
That's a lot of people on the road. Yeah, you know, when I was in Tokyo, I love walking around central Tokyo and seeing how people maneuvered. And when you travel, you get a different perspective on how big cities work together. And, you know, if I'm in this position as mayor, I would literally gather the right people and look at how we are working on making sure all the right pedestrians and bikers and drivers are accessing throughout the entire Minneapolis. I do know there are some bike paths and paths along the way and all throughout Minneapolis, which are really extraordinary. And we've had, like, Minneapolis has been part of the top cities in the state as far as, you know, making sure people can access throughout Minneapolis. We get applauded all the time. So it's not that it's awful, but definitely there's work needs to be done. We need to have the right people in place to help us get that, you know, laid out properly and efficiently. Maybe we can have a bullet train. That'd be nice.
Candidate Fry.
I'll just take the opportunity to talk about some of the superlatives in Minneapolis first, which is we are the most bike-friendly city in the country. We have been recognized as the happiest city in the country. We're one of the best cities for both seniors and best for recent college grads. And the correct word that you got to think about when answering this question is balance. We need balance. And so there are instances when we have done bike lanes really well, and one example is right outside on Washington. There are other examples when we haven't. When we do it well, we double down. When we get it wrong, we got to admit. And you move forward with the best possible way that you can. You know, the opposite of extremism is not the opposite extreme. It's good, thoughtful governance where we listen to the facts, we follow the data, and then we love our city more than our ideology. That applies to transportation too.
Candidate Turner.
When it comes to transportation, I would say let's look at common sense. I do believe we need a balance, and I want to use the road transportation. But the bike lanes in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is only usable 3 months out of the year. And the new bump outs are making driving a lot dangerous and more congestion. And so I would take an approach designing and reforming how we get around and about in Minneapolis. I'm not against bike lanes, but we need to do something that maximizes road space for the majority of people who aren't using bike lanes, and we're wasting space, and I think that's sort of unfair to the greater community to not have that space for transportation. And bumping down lanes to to two lanes where it's three. I don't understand where the common sense is in that, and I would definitely, wherever I could, to come up with a new plan for transportation.
Candidate nobody.
America is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Where's it going on? America is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we're currently being led by unconstitutionally by cowards who hate freedom. And we need to just be brave and do the right thing. If you're on a vehicle, if there's a scooter or a bike, you need to be off the sidewalk because you're making people on the sidewalk unsafe for you to be comfortable when the people in the cars can't hit you or they'll go to jail forever. Just stop being a coward and get on the road. And stop being a dick in your car and honking at people on scooters and bikes and making them unsafe when they're doing the right thing by being in the road. Go all the way into the other lane. Don't almost hit them while you pass them and honk at them like a psycho. You're in a car, you're going to get where you're going so much faster than. That's why pedestrians always have the right of way, because you can stop and wait for me. It takes me, I'm walking, I'm disabled. The cops stole my car for like over a year and they gave it back, and all of a sudden my brakes stopped working as soon as I fixed it up.
Thank you.
And so I ride the bus because I'm a disabled veteran, it's free. And I ride rental scooters, can't ride a bike.
All right, let me tell you where we're all at. I've got one lightning round question, and then I've got one set of questions on governance and civic participation, and then we'll do our closing statements. So we're on the tail end here. My lightning round question is a yes or no answer, and we'll start with candidate nobody on that end, and we'll just go down the line again. The question is yes or no. Do you support increasing financial support for neighborhood associations? Do you support increasing financial support for neighborhood associations? Yes or no?
I don't know what a neighborhood association is. I mean, it sounds good, but I don't know, because people, like fascists, like to call things the opposite of what they are, so that you think that you're doing what you want.
All right, I guess that's your
I
answer.
don't know how to answer that question.
No, with an exclamation point.
Yes.
Undecided.
Keep it the same.
Oh, God, no.
Yes.
I'm not sure what it is.
Yes.
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 Pass.
Yes.
As usual, when presented with one or two choices, our candidates are extra creative and came up with their own way to answer that question. I love it.
I do what I want. I'm free American.
I love it. All right, our last category, as I said, is governance and civic participation. The first group is Revel, Richardson, Hampton, Dwyer, McLeod, Pocky, Fate. How would you involve diverse communities in decision-making processes and ensure that all residents, including our youth, have a voice in shaping Minneapolis? Candidate Revel.
The community is why I'm here. I'm here for the people. I'm here for everyone to feel like they're heard. I'm here for everyone that feels like they haven't been heard. The city here is beautiful. There's a lot of things that could be improved on. And I just really am very passionate about making some wonderful changes here in the city. Helping it grow, lowering taxes, helping the people feel like they're safe again, and stopping the crime.
Candidate Richardson.
This is pretty central to my campaign as a whole. That as a diverse person, my background is Mexican American. My dad was an illegal immigrant here, and my mom was an immigrant from Massachusetts. So so diverse communities are central to me. I also understand that one of the biggest discrepancies that we have in representation in government and civics is economics. That class, as my socialist counterpart over there said, that the class war is really the biggest war. It's maybe not the only war, but it is. I believe it is the biggest one. And so myself, as a working person, someone who doesn't have access to all the resources of some of my fellow candidates here, I think that allowing people like me to run, electing people like me who are working class, who have to live with the consequences of their decisions, I think that that's tantamount to transforming representation in government and economics, or sorry, government and civics. Thank you.
Candidate Hampton.
Yeah, I think finding these voices is incredibly important. So I'm going to list a few things that I think we should be doing to improve that. First is, of course, we're going to have consistent open forums. I believe that the mayor should be open and available consistently to the residents, and I've already committed to having those quarterly, and not just in the wards that I know love me, but in the wards that want to challenge me as well. That is really important. The next portion is, there are already city leaders that can help bring together these voices already, and those city leaders in some realms are the council members themselves. Of course, the council member in Ward 6 and the council member in Ward 13 are going to have different views. Their constituents have different needs, and it's their job to represent those constituents. And I want to bring all of those voices into the table and actively listen to them. And I used to do recruiting. We would actively seek for diverse talent in our employment searches. And what we often found was, if you look where everyone else is looking, you're not going to find it just like everyone else. So you actively have to change the way you're outreaching to these communities to ensure that you can actually hear their voices.
Candidate Dwyer.
Our campaign is for independent, working-class political action, separate from the Democrats and Republicans, which are the two parties of the capitalist class. By involving our class in political action that way, you're reaching the most diverse section of the population. Everybody's in the working class, black, white, immigrants, no matter what your gender or sexual orientation, we're all workers, and we've got to fight together. That's what our campaign and our party strives to do, is build independent action that way. I think one thing to get young people and everybody else involved in is going down to the U tomorrow and joining the picket line to the Teamsters on strike. Thank you.
Candidate.
Your best education.
Candidate McLeod.
I've thought about this a lot because I used to live in London, and it's kind of like the hub of the world. Minneapolis is the hub of the world too, as well, right? And so we can't separate different classes. Everyone's like, oh, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, and you're this, and you're that, and you're rich, and you're poor. Why can't someone else have what I have? Why can't they have an experience that I have? I just feel like we need to be real about these things. And, why not the people who are in charge, like whoever's in charge of the ward, sorry, I'm not very savvy on the political, I'm not, a politician, but, the people who are savvy about their community, we need to come together, maybe do a tour, maybe, have different ways to experience each environment, because the North Loop is different from Powderhorn and Loring Park and Uptown, and everything is so different. We need to have ways where we all come together. Everything is so separate. And so, I would create things so we can do that better. Have a website where we can all sort of gather and communicate and say what we want, say what we need. This is 2025. There's no reason why we cannot make this better and come together. There's no
Thank
reason.
you. Candidate Pocky.
The biggest thing for me and why I decided to step up for this is transparency, not only for myself, but for all the community leaders, the leaders that lead the city, the leaders for the state, that we are all being accountable for our actions, accountable for every decision that we make, and making sure that we are owning it, and that when a problem comes up, you should always have an open door so that people can come and talk to you about it. And then dealing with every aspect of the city, around the city. When we are investing our time and energy into one specific ward, we should also be looking at what can that project be applied to for the other wards, instead of it just being Ward 6 needs these new parks. Why don't we also have Ward 11 be reviewed to also, what can we do to improve that with that same template? And that should be universal across the city.
Candidate Fate.
Yes, a couple of things. Number one, listening to community and partnering with the community and taking action. That is why, with your support and partnering with community, and by the way, this ties into the last question around the diverse needs and asks from community, that last biennium in 2023, we were able to secure $42 million in local projects investment in District 62, which was the second most, I believe, out of any DFLer, which was huge, and that was possible because of the work that you all put in partnership with our office. And number two, the question around the youth. I think we got to do a better job engaging the youth, because when we do, we can move mountains. We can do a lot. And what do I mean by that? I've been successful as the Senate Higher Education Chair because we engaged the youth. They helped pass the North Star Promise, which benefited 46,000 students from working class families, expanded campus hunger grants to have food pantry opportunities on every campus, and provided 24/7 mental health resources. All that was done because we let our students lead.
The last question, and the group will be Fry, Short, Peterson, nobody, Davis, Turner. Unexpected events impacting the city government and city residents can occur at any time without warning. What approach would you take to ensure the appropriate people are informed and that residents have confidence in the city government's response to these events?
We prepare. I'm not the same mayor as I was when I first took office 7 years ago. I'm not the same person. We have learned lessons that have made me a better mayor and a better leader. And following 2020, we didn't sit on our hands. We did the work around emergency preparedness and the National Incident Management System to make sure that we were prepared no matter what. We did simulations and did thousands of hours worth of work, culminating in a trip out to Emmitsburg, Maryland, where we had about 72 of our public officials and leaders at the city that helped to run simulations so that we were prepared no matter what took place. We as a city have done the work. We as a city have improved dramatically, and we need to make sure that that emergency preparedness stems in the form of communications out to all of our residents. Tragically, we saw a horrific shooting that took place just a week and a half ago. Our city is making great strides, and we need to make sure that those strides continue.
Candidate Short.
I believe in preparing, but we also need to make sure that we have an alert to let everyone know. Every majority of our community members have cell phones and have access to radios and television. The first thing we need to do is make sure we can get that message out as fast as possible. We have the alert system, use it, and make sure our most vulnerable, such as our seniors and our disabled who can't use a cell phone because of their disability, we have a group in place to make sure we knock and make sure that that team goes out as soon as possible. We need to make sure everyone knows what is going on, even if they don't have TVs or they're disabled. Thank you.
Candidate Peterson.
Could you repeat the question again?
Unexpected events impacting the city government and city residents can occur at any time without warning. What approach would you take to ensure that the appropriate people are informed and that residents have confidence in the city government's response to these events?
The city of Minneapolis used to have a thing called the Minneapolis Telecommunications Network. It was a communications network, two-way, for the citizens to talk to each other. I would propose that the city take that back, actually. To Mayor Fry's point, I spent several hours in 2020 talking about left-wing terrorism in the city for years, and the groupthink would not let it go through. You sound like a right-wing lunatic. I'm an anarchist. How can I be a right-wing lunatic, right? I will give you some credit, sir. I have seen radical improvements in that from Director Quincy, who I spoke to for hours, who mocked me because I told her what was coming in 2020 in January, right? And these communication things, these are radically simple problems if we can get municipal Wi-Fi, which was the original plan for the Minneapolis Telecommunications Network, which should be repatriated to the city of Minneapolis.
Candidate nobody.
Well, can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Yes. Unexpected events impacting the city
Oh,
government.
okay, I'm ready. Okay. So we need to stop looking at people who violate the law. For 6,000 years, we have tried punishing the people we catch violating the law, which is maybe 1 in 100 of them, if we can get them punished for when we catch them. And it hasn't resulted in a fair and safe society in 6,000 years. That's a pretty good trial run to maybe try something else. Like maybe start with seeing it as the system failing the individual and forcing them out of the system rather than because they're a good person forced into a bad situation, not a bad person being bad because they're bad. And like treating a public health crisis that's created by an economic crisis of a they're growing at the same speed, the wealth and income inequality and the violence and the everything. And the taking away people's rights is not going to work because you can't. Because they're not, well, I mean, 13th Amendment says we don't have any because you can take them away as punishment for a crime, which means they're privileges. So at least from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Act, it was the Bill of White Privileges.
Thank you, candidate nobody.
You're welcome.
Candidate Davis.
Thank you so much. You know, one of the things about preparation, certainly emergency preparation and preparation for unexpected events, it's important to understand what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But there are a couple of things that you need to do before you get to that event. The first thing is you have to build trust at every level of government, throughout the bureaucracy, throughout the staffing, that people know that you are going to provide principled leadership in the event of something catastrophic or an unexpected event occurs. But the second thing is you need to set a standard for transportation, communication and transparency. That is a regular contact communication with the residents so that you know not only who the leader is, who the people are going to be responding in an emergency, but you know that as soon as I can, that I'm going to come before you to let you know what's going on, to provide you information, and to tell you how you can help the city in the event of an unexpected event.
Candidate Turner.
I'll be honest with you, I don't really understand the question. It sounds like a question for the incumbent. What do you mean, what would you do? You be proactive when something, you can't predict an emergency or something like that, but when it happens, you get there, you do what you can, you call in the services that you need to provide whatever is going on, whether it's a tornado, a fire, or shooting. Be proactive, be there, be honest with the citizens, and let them know exactly what's going on, and give them advice on how to conduct themselves in the emergency. I mean, it's just common sense.
All right, now we will move on to closing statements, and candidates, you're reminded you only have 30 seconds for your closing statement. Make it count. We'll start with candidate McLeod.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that. Look, I'm so honored to be here and to represent all of you. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have me aid and creative director and strategist and caregiver. And I really, truly believe that, you know, even though I'm not a politician, I know how to take care of people. That's what I do. That's what I do every single day. And I'm ready to dig in and surround myself with the best people to help take care of all of your needs, because your needs are my needs as well. Thank you.
Candidate Pocky.
It's been a lot of fun. You know, this is my first time running for office in any capacity, and I'm greatly appreciative of the opportunity given to me to do this. I'm just your regular worker. I do security, and watching everything happen over the last 8 years, it's been quite a phenomena that everything is going the way it's been in the city between 2020 with the riots and making sure that your kids are safe while they're at school overnight at the college. You know, do my best.
Candidate Nobody.
As stated, I was retired from the military, from the Army as a sergeant, but under President Obama, and he gave me a flag and I got on behalf of him, I was given a flag and a letter that said that I can do whatever I want and you guys are going to pay for it, but it doesn't really work that way. And it's not exactly what I was told I would deserve, and I don't think I deserve anything more than anybody else, but I don't need a job. I'm retired. I don't even need to worry about what's going to happen to my career if I be the best mayor ever, because I'm not going to have a career when I'm done being mayor. I'm going to go back to being retired.
Thank
I would
you.
like you to be old retired. Red and blue don't care about you, but nobody cares. So if you vote for nobody, you can do whatever you want, and I'll help you do that as long as you're a good person.
Thank you. Candidate Fate.
Do the right thing and have fun.
Thank you, and thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Our campaign isn't about managing the status quo. It is about flipping the priorities. And I'm honored to have built a multiracial, multi-generational campaign and a broad coalition endorsed by not just the progressive wing of the DFL, but Blue Dogs. 6 out of 13 city council members ranking me as their first choice. And even for about a month, I was DFL endorsed. So right now, it is time to build an affordable city that is accountable to us and a mayor that works as hard as you do. Thank you.
Candidate Peterson.
The affirmative action era is over. It's done. This group-based spoils system, it's done. Read the executive orders. Read this. This isn't going away. There's no way that is going back. Those worms are going back in that can. We need to recognize that reality and Minneapolis needs to decide whether it's going to be part of America or whether it's going to do its own thing. 2020 needs to be investigated as a sedition, and those responsible need to be hung from the neck until dead. And I don't think Mayor Fry is responsible.
Thank you.
But I would love to find out who he thinks is.
Thank you. Candidate Rebel.
I'm very proud to be here today. This is my first and only time I'm ever going to run. And I just want everybody to know that I will do my best. Nobody else has had experience on this panel being a mayor, except for, of course, Fry. So we all, Mayor Fry, excuse me. And I want to thank everybody for showing up and for these wonderful women and setting up this forum for all of us.
Candidate Short.
I'm running for mayor because I want to support the working class families. Most of them cannot attend city council meetings, and I attend them for them. They work 2 to 3 jobs just to survive in our city, and when I become mayor, I will still be supporting those working class families. I will go to them because they are tired, and their voices still need to be heard. Thank you.
Candidate Richardson.
Thank you. I'll start off with a quick statistic. So out of 7,000 or so elected lawmakers in our country, only less than 200 of them are considered of the working class. And so to pretend like the issues that we're facing today, the income inequalities, the struggles that our cities are facing, to pretend that that's going to be solved by somebody who is of that elite class, who is of the political class, is, I think, a little ludicrous. And I hope that myself, Alejandro Richardson, union carpenter, can be your next mayor. Thank you.
Candidate Fry.
Oh, thank you to the league. Thank you to the 75 candidates that are running against me for this office. But in all seriousness, thank you for having the courage to step up. This is a hard job, and your courage is admirable. And thank you to all of you, including my parents who are watching their very first debate. Hope you come back to a second one. I'm so honored to be the mayor of Minneapolis. I'm honored to serve you, and I ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Candidate Hampton.
Thank you all for being here. I am genuinely excited about the future of Minneapolis, and that's something I really want to share with you all as well. When you go and vote on November 4th, or if you're voting early, when you step in to vote, I want you to feel a sense of excitement. I don't want you to be voting against something. I want you to be voting for the exciting opportunities that we have in the city of Minneapolis, because I've lived here my whole life, and I know in this town we have the ability to reach those goals. And this is only 30 seconds, and we don't have too much time up here, so please learn more about all of these candidates. Follow on social media and learn why you're going to rank everyone fully. I look forward to seeing you, and I hope that I can earn your #1 rank. Thank you.
Candidate Davis.
Ours is a wonderful city, blessed with abundance, just an abundance of riches in people, creativity, ideas, tradition. But that abundance is not shared by everybody. But here's the thing. It can be. We can share it. We can move forward. We can address all of the issues before us. We have everything we need. The next step is principled new leadership that takes us forward. And I hope you join us in that movement, because it is going to be amazing what we can do together. Thank you.
Candidate Turner.
I'm a man of action, not words, so I'm gonna keep mine short. If you want safe street and your taxes lowered, vote for Laverne Turner. Turn around Minneapolis. Thank you.
Candidate Dwyer.
Every election we hear a lot of ideas of how to take on the evils this system creates. The problem is they leave that system in place to recreate those social relations. What my party, the Socialist Workers Party, and my campaign is about is creating a working class movement that can take power out of the hands of the capitalist class and end their march toward fascism and war. Thank you.
Nice.
On behalf of the League of Women Voters Minneapolis, I thank the candidates for mayor of Minneapolis for being part of the democratic process by running for office and for being willing to serve our community. We hope the forum will help voters to make an informed decision. I have a few more announcements, but first, let's show our appreciation for candidates with your applause. Many thanks to the Minneapolis Central Library for providing the space, MCN 6 for recording this forum, and to our interpreters and volunteers. The video recording of this forum will be available unedited for viewing on the League of Women Voters Minneapolis website, lwvmpls.org. Editing of this video is authorized only for official media reporting. Footage cannot be used in campaign publicity. The recording is the property of League of Women Voters Minneapolis. We also thank you, the audience, for your participation in this forum and the democratic process. We challenge you to think about what 2 to 3 things you can do now to learn more about the candidates, further civic dialogue about the issues, and encourage your friends and neighbors to participate in this important election. Nonpartisan information about candidates and voting is available at vote411.org. Early voting for the general election will begin Friday, September 19th and will end Monday, November 3rd. Election Day is November 4th. Please vote. Your vote is your voice and your power. Thank you.
Feminism is masculine. If you disagree, you're a feminine.
Wow. Yeah, some of that was crazy, and that honestly, I think Minneapolis could really, really be in some trouble. I will say that I do think Minneapolis will be in some trouble.
Let me just real quick get us up real quick again.
Hi, everybody. We are at the Farmer's Dog in New York
Not
City, and
what
I'm
I'm trying to do. Let's see.
going to show you what is in a starter. Be careful when you open it because there is dry ice.
Okay, sorry, it's lagging us for a second there.
Oh, you good?
It should be us now. Okay,
It
cool. I
is.
invited Laverne and oh, sorry, is it still? Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah. The video's not up though. It's not on the screen. It's just us two.
Next, we
Right.
is
Here we go. Sorry about that.
All right. Shit happens. Shit happens. But it was interesting, especially with candidate nobody. And I know some tweets went out on Twitter of like Taylor and some other dude talking about Troy. Thought that was pretty.
Yeah, I figured they would. I mean, he's an interesting feller.
Right. Especially about some of the things he says. Because they couldn't
Oh, yeah.
believe some of the statements he made about like George Floyd Square about hanging people for sedation and shit.
That's what he's been saying online for a while, though. So I
Right.
mean, like,
Right.
people need to look into him, but also look into the other candidates too. Like, I'm for informed consent, so I can see. Not that I agree with it, but I can see Laverne's point of it's going to happen anyway, so might as well have the people have a voice and make some money off it, rather than it being pushed through UN and crap.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I feel like they all had some good points either way. I mean, besides candidate nobody. Uh, I think they all had very good points, no matter if it came to Jazz Hampton. I think he really does have a good future in politics, even if he doesn't do well in this mayor race. I think he does have with the apps he's doing and the lawyer work that he's doing and his, I don't know, his job time, free time, whatever you want to call it. I think he actually can make change. And I'm not just saying that just because I wouldn't vote for him right now, but I do believe that he is somebody down the road that would be a very good politician.
Well, how I met Jazz was actually working on Marvin's case because he was helping out Andrew Marquardt
Right.
and the gal that was with him from the Innocence Project. Because I actually was feeding them notes throughout the court of like, because they weren't using everything I gave them, but I was like, I knew the case like the back of my hand, so I was like, if you
Right.
need it, go to this page and this exhibit, and you know what I mean. And they were surprised I knew it off the top of my head because I wrote like a 300-page brief for them. So I mean,
No, there is a lot of the people even go back into a lot of like court papers or because I know I seen something earlier today and they were talking about that dude from Ramsey County where they've already tossed two of his cases. I don't know if he was a medical examiner or he was something, but uh, they still haven't
he's a
freed the
medical
people.
examiner.
I don't
He
know
was
if
a
he
medical
was.
examiner.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's a medical examiner. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that mean I just seen that or whatever, but it makes you really look at uh from the time period, especially in Minneapolis, I would say between 96 and '05. I mean, if they really looked at a lot of paperwork, if they looked at, uh, there was a lot of shit that was going on, and especially with what was what was shown and Marvin's case, with the that it wasn't just a robbery, I mean, a killing, it was a robbery as well. And there was more than just one bullet. So that just already showed you that there was more than just one shooter that was potentially was there.
Oh, definitely. And um, like on that note, they have to get it right. Okay, so one of the problems that's known, I went back to school for law enforcement. One of the
Right.
problems that's known is when the lab or like the medical examiner gets too much information from the case that's irrelevant, it can skew their thoughts on what happened rather than it being an objective. Here's the evidence and here's what I found. It can get skewed then, and that's the thing is like the lab doesn't need connection with whatever, and that was a problem over in Maryland when all those druggy lab techs got busted. I think it was in Maryland. Um, and they had to reverse so many different cases, but they were also getting information from the cops to help bust people, but then we're swapping out the drugs after it's already tested.
Right.
So no one would retest the drugs, and after it already tested positive, they'd swap it out for baking powder and stuff like that. And they were doing the pure stuff.
Yeah, that's why, and that's what about Minneapolis is kind of tricky because, a lot of them had some very good points. I can say like Dwayne Davis. I mean, he doesn't have my vote. I wouldn't vote for him just because, uh, yeah, the whole him being gay and that's not something that I'm okay with. But it Davis, Hampton, uh, and what's crazy is and maybe it wasn't the right time for it or space for it or whatever, but even Omar Fatah, it's kind of admonishing to me, like it's not admonishing, astonishing to me that uh he's high up in the race and a lot of people, the media can come out and like Kara Levin, our Star Tribune, can come out with a story about his wife and it affects him because he puts up legislation that his wife was at that time was a was a housing stabilization services. um I don't think she was awarded money or anything like that, but just the fact that you were writing bills that could potentially help out uh your wife, and it was the same thing with Bobby Joe Champion. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of people uh keep things in the quiet and then it wouldn't be as big, I feel like, even with Bobby Joe Champion and the Jerry McAfee shit. But i- if Omar would have talked about it, I really feel like people, it wouldn't be such a big story or such a big, and maybe a big shock, and maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's the way they're writing the stories or whatever, because I don't really feel like you're getting the full answer anyways. You're just getting more of a narrative. But
I think the candidates may be doing something afterwards, so I'm not sure if they're going to join us. Yeah, you're right on. Just like what's that?
oh, it's in them.
Oh, um, but it's all good because like I just know that something needs to change because Minneapolis, if you look at its history, has been corrupt since like its founding.
Right.
Like they were claim jumpers from before it was even part of the state and stuff back in the territorial days. And like there's been people that I mean anything you want as far as vice you can get in Minneapolis.
Right.
They were known for their hookers, their blow, their gambling, their opium, their I mean you go down the list, right?
Shit, I mean,
Um,
the mayor said it was easier to get a gun over north than it was to get a fresh apple.
oh yeah, well that's not wrong. I mean like,
Right.
and that's but the murder rate back in those days in the late 1800s was higher than it is now. It was like 1 in 15,000, man. So yeah, so what's that?
No, and I mean, it just makes me think because I honestly think it's going to take somebody that who isn't afraid to go at certain and it's not about going at your colleagues or anything like that. It's about accountability. It's about, holding people accountable. Because if we're going to get any kind of unity in Minnesota, we definitely gotta have to see some kind of accountability because we're not seeing that in Minnesota right now. I don't know how many people have been murdered in the last 2 weeks, and all I'm hearing about is still the school shooting. You know what I'm saying? There was like, I don't understand it because those type of things happen all the time, but we're only talking about something that is dramatic, or now they want to talk about banning guns or assault rifles or whatever. It's like, why weren't we trying to have those conversations before? Or we always talk about the gun violence, but we actually never really do anything about it. We don't get on the streets, or especially the politicians don't.
Well, my thing is, like, people get me wrong. They think I'm some white supremacist. Here's the thing is that I want all kids to succeed. Okay, I don't want to see any kids die. I want all kids to receive a good education, have two parents in the house, be able to have opportunities and have a decent economy. We have to get back to the local circular economy where we're not sending our money halfway across the globe. Okay,
Right.
we have to get back to that. We're Americans, that nationalism. And I'm not saying white nationalism. I'm saying nationalism. You're an American.
Right,
You're
America.
American first.
Right.
Okay. So don't say you're whatever an American. You can say I'm an American / whatever, American Irish or whatever, but have that American be the first part, right?
Right.
You can be proud of your heritage. I want there to be proud people from Ghana, and just like I want proud Irish and proud blacks and proud Somalis and proud Germans and Czechs. You know what I mean? But we
Right.
don't gotta fight,
That's true.
you know. But don't tell me I'm bad and I'm evil, and I won't tell you that you are. You know
Right.
what I mean?
No.
And that's the thing that people don't get. You know.
And I mean, that is the truth, because we can look at a lot of our politicians, are not even our politicians, our CEOs, like RT Ryback, or I don't know, he's just on the tip of my tongue tonight. I don't know why. But and there's others that sit in, like
Because you see them all over the state,
right.
dude. The
It
guy
is.
bounces all over the place, and that's what the billionaires and millionaires do. These think tanks, they bounce from place to place, putting in their crappy ideas for the future rather than letting it be informed consent. I'm
Right.
for informed consent of the governed, dude. Put it through the people. If the people don't want the DMC, let them not have the DMC. If they, you know what I mean?
No, and I want to I just want to say something too, because I know a lot of one, you're against direct appropriations, and I know there's people out here, and I'm against those too. I just want people to know that that is one thing that we do agree on wholeheartedly, is legislators writing direct appropriations for community groups, or anything like that, because that's not how it's not being. There's no equality, there's no equity in that, because it's still a system. You're still being People are being chosen, and then you're still leaving people behind.
Well, on that, I think that Citizens United needs to be overturned. It needs to go back to where the companies actually have to do philanthropy in the community to be able to have a say, right?
Right.
Rather than just buying off politicians. Um, and so that way they have to actually have a positive influence in that community and be a part of that community. Because that business philanthropy is a huge thing. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they shouldn't be able to influence entire movements and like do sedition and whatever else, which they have on both sides. They brainwash people on both sides. You have the Heritage Foundation or whatever on one side, and then you have like a green trees or whatever it is on the other side.
Right.
I'm not for indoctrination. I'm for informed consent of the people and the smallest governance possible. So, like, if you at your local city level want to decide something cool, but just don't force it on anybody else. Max freedom. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I
don't
100%
expect
agree.
anybody to bail you out either.
Right. And I think that's the way our society is now. Is like there's so many people out here that keep on making mistakes and then keep on making them. It's because, to me, they have enablers, and people are allowing them to make those mistakes until they get out of hand. And that's the same way I see it with our criminal justice system. We keep on allowing people to make mistakes until they get worse, and then they're doomed. There is no coming out of that. There is no just like with the guy that stabbed the girl on the train in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? They make something, an ant hole into a mole. A mole hole. I don't know, man. Never mind it.
Well, the violence is getting bad on all sides. Did you had that guy that got high and chopped up his family in northern, or just north of the Twin Cities there in one of the suburbs? You know what I mean? Like, so we need to address people getting high and hacking people up, right?
Shit, there was
Wow.
I don't know if I should call him a rapper or whatever, but there was a guy named David. But there was, instead of the A, there was a 4, but he was found chopped up in a bag in his trunk, sitting out of where a auto recycler. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people have to understand that we are in real crazy times. And even if you can see from Mary Franson's is a prime example, is her daughter was attacked. I'm thinking it's Apple Valley because they want the Apple Valley police uh, to make the report. But to
Yeah,
see
at her
that,
work.
you know what I'm saying? At work, right? So it just shows you that it's not just, Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's also these suburban areas that are, to me, it's not really American first anymore. It's about they want to protect everybody's rights instead of protecting the people that they should.
So if people don't know where nationalism, capitalism, traditional liberalism, talking about 1848 liberalism, and socialism came from, they really need to look at the uprisings of 1848. Okay. And that's also when Karl Marx wrote his stuff. It gets interesting, man. Please just go look at the history of it, man, because throughout the US's history, people also got to realize there's been corporate warfare for just as long as we've existed. We stole all the plans for the Industrial Revolution from England. People memorized the plans and came back and wrote them down because they couldn't export the plans and steal them that way, or they would have been like caught. Okay, then the first federal bank was funded a lot of that stuff and funded the DuPonts and a whole bunch of other stuff, and just like it was to fund monopolies, and we have these huge monopolies that we've like sort of funded or now are sucking off the government teat and all the contracts, right? They wouldn't exist without the government or without like the short selling of stocks, the fraudulent stuff, like they did with all the retirement funds. So I mean, like we can just be like, yeah, we need to end the corruption, dude. Let's. I'm a pretty basic guy. Okay, let's figure out what the problem is, stop the problem, try to fix it if we can, and then evaluate whether or not we're doing a good job or we need to adjust the plan, and then give it enough time to work, project out, and what do you need, what do you have, and where do you think you're going?
Right.
Easy as that.
Right. No, that is a good point. I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I'm been on 3 hours already. Oh,
Okay, thanks, man. You take care.
Thank you for letting me come on, man. I really appreciate
Hey,
that.
where do people find you?
The Urban Conservative. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and the handle is the Urban Conservative. My real name is Chaz Neal, but I really thank you for letting me come on here, and I enjoyed watching the Minneapolis Forum, Mayor Forum, and I think really people should go check out the candidates. I know it was they only had a minute to answer, but I think people should go check out Laverne Turner and his smart cities. I think you should go check out Troy Peterson. You should go check out Jazz Hampton, Omar. No, I'm not even gonna say Omar. Dwayne Davis, and Brenda Short. I know people. She is really a candidate that people should really take a hard, good look at because I do think she can make a difference in Minneapolis. And with that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here. I hope y'all have a good night.
Thanks, man. You take care. Be blessed.